Well. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Transcend with M. And I am super excited because even though Suzanne and I have not met in person, I am a huge fan. So, it's like the groupie that gets to like have a one-on-one, right? So, here is positively Suzanne, who is an amazing pioneer in our community. She is all about empowering women, and I will say, probably more than me, and that's awesome because you always need that person that you look up to keep you going, right, and to like feed from. So that's what you are to me, Suzanne. I
Oh,
feed from you every
oh,
single day because
oh,
even us that are doing this work, we need that support as well, right? So thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being here. I am super comfortable right now because I feel like we've been friends for our entire life. But I cannot wait to hear more about your story. So welcome.
well, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me on the show. Thank you for all that you do. And thank you for your kind words. I mean, I never knew that. And, it just really reinforces what I truly believe that, like you putting yourself out there, sharing your story and sharing your light. Others will be touched by it, others will be moved by it. And
Yeah.
that's it for me. Like, that's it for me. I truly believe our mission on this earth is to help others see their light, and if I can do that for somebody, I am truly humbled by that. So thank you. I appreciate that. Like, wow. Okay. Thank you.
I know. I am so excited. Anyways, I can continue saying that for like hours and hours, but
Yeah, like no, no.
I, I want to go right into it. So
Mm.
I always open up, and people's probably tired of listening to this, but who is Suzanne? What is your story? I really want to know the real Suzanne and how positively Suzanne came to be.
All right. Well, oh my goodness, who is Suzanne? The funny thing is Suzanne is not like one thing. There is a plethora of things that I think that makes up the whole Suzanne. I'm thinking of that episode of White Lotus where she's when he says, "Tell me your story," and she's like, "I was born in San Francisco," and he's like, "Oh, we're going way back." I won't go back
Well,
that far, but I was born and raised in Jamaica. No.
yeah,
No, I was born in Jamaica. I was born in the island and raised there, my mom and dad. And I think, one of the things I believe that you get when you come from the island is a sense of appreciation and a sense of just standards and ethics and how you treat people. And that's all I knew. So when I came to America in my teens, there were certainly some things that I saw that surprised me in terms of, the way we talk to adults, the way we talk to our elders, the way we talk to our parents. But, I was already ingrained with respecting my elders and my parents. So that didn't really shift me much. I feel like I've always been a positive person. I've always been one to look at the silver lining. And, as I got older, I didn't realize how impactful that was until like people really started to share their story with me. And I realized people truly struggle with staying positive. People struggle with, seeing the silver lining. And even if you look at what's happening in today's society and culture, just how much negativity is out there and how much easier it is to hate or how much easier it is to break somebody down versus build them up. I think you have to be intentional in, like your footprint. People always talk about digital footprint, but I always think about the impression I want to leave after I leave someone. I want someone that's like, oh, that was good. Or, it's like a good food. When you eat good food, you're like, yes.
you basically want people to like eat from you and take a nap. That's how you know the food was good.
Exactly, exactly. And but I'm intentional about me too, because you know what? I really try to surround myself with people because I feel like like for me and you, like, we're similar. We're always giving and we're always putting out. But if we don't pour into ourselves and if we don't replenish ourselves, we will get run down. We'll get burnt out. So I'm
Mhm.
intentional about that. Like my circle, I'm an extrovert. That there's no question
Yeah.
about it. And I can be the life of the party. But I also appreciate like alone time. I
Yeah.
also appreciate just curling up with a good book or just chilling with my best friends or my husband or my kids,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So I think that intentionality as I've gotten older over the years has been very important to me, just in terms of everything that I do, everything that I approach. And, to see people being impacted by it, that was something that, like, honestly only really came about during social media. Folks have always, like, like, because you can see it, like if you're interacting with folks on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis, they'll tell you. But like, being on social media and folks reaching out to you and saying that,
Yeah.
thank you, your post changed this or that, has been impactful.
Yeah.
And it's helped me. It's pushed me through sometimes when I'm like, you know what, there's so many people sharing motivational messages. Like, I don't have to share today or things like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to share. And then
Yeah.
somebody says, oh, that message really helped them. I'm like, okay, look at you, God. Look at you,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Somebody's always counting on you.
yes, yeah, what? And to me, that's a big responsibility, but it
Yeah.
also it is. But I think sometimes people look at everything like, well, then if you're constantly doing that, like you're not being true to
Mhm.
you. But I am, though, because
Yeah.
ultimately I believe that my gift, my
Yeah.
purpose on this earth is to help others find their purpose.
And there
I
is
really
nothing more gratifying than walking with purpose.
Exactly. When your purpose and your passion aligns, it's an incredible, amazing thing.
Yeah.
So I think, my parents were a big influence on me in terms of, being respectful and being kind. And my mom was like one of the biggest volunteers. So she was always giving off her time. And, my dad was very strict. So I
Mhm.
won't say he was the easiest to be around in terms of, doing anything, but he's just he believed in right and wrong.
Mhm.
And he held you accountable to, yet you said what you meant. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it was tough as a child, I think, dealing with that. But as I got older, I certainly appreciated it a lot more. And now being a parent, I really appreciate
100%.
I
100%.
really appreciate it. So, it's like my formative years were just like, like I spent a lot of time, like, my father was, like, again, very strict, so I didn't go out much or things like that. But I had like good friends that I hung with, and things like that. I worked in retail for a very long time, and I've always been the type that folks went to for, to share their confidence, to ask for advice, to I was kind of like an unofficial mentor before I even knew what that was.
Yeah.
And always trying to, even when I was a retail leader, right, and I was interviewing folks, I'm like, so tell me, like, what do you want to do? And like, I'm having conversation because I want to know, like, yes, you're applying for this job, but do you really want this job? Like, what is it about it? And if it's just for money, hey, that's cool. But at least I think we're both aware going in. Or when
Yeah.
I one of the things I had to do, unfortunately, was terminate folks. I always felt that
Mm.
folks needed
That,
to leave with their dignity.
that's
Folks,
the hardest part.
it's very, very difficult, but Monica, I
Oh,
will tell you, sometimes you have to separate people.
yeah.
You do. It's sad but true. But I always felt that folks could still leave with their dignity. And I always tried to be honest and says, hey, listen, like, this isn't working out. Like, here's why. And if the person is warranted, I have no problem, giving them a referral, because
Yeah.
they could just not be right for that role, but there
Right.
is something else they'll be better suited for. So I've always just tried to live a life that, like, listen, it's not about tearing others down to shine,
Yeah.
because I know who I am. And I think true confidence comes with knowing who you are, flaws and all, being okay with it, and knowing that no, you're unique, you're different, and
Mhm.
you can shine regardless of who you're in the room with. And if someone else is having their moment to shine, it doesn't take away your shine.
Yeah.
So
It just
I,
doesn't.
it doesn't. And I think that once you're comfortable and confident, like, you can just walk in a room and just genuinely get to know the people in the room without worrying about, like,
Mhm.
Is this one smarter? Is this one prettier? Is this one more fit?
Yep.
Like, you don't have all these little things going at you. You're just going in and you're literally just going to meet everybody and have a grand time and hopefully learn something while you're in the room. Because,
Yeah,
we should always be learning.
it's true. It almost is like you have this natural ability to
Mm,
just be that person, right?
mm,
Which is great to highlight, and it's important to utilize that skill in order to uplift and in order to deal with others. I
mhm,
think something I learned through the years, I've always been in positions of leadership, so I've always had to hire, fire, do these things. And um at the beginning, a lot of fires were bad. Like they were
mm,
bad because they'll get angry. I remember having to fire someone and he flipped the table, right? Like it
mm,
was, but then I learned that kindness is everything, right?
mm,
So I started, when I had to make those decisions, I started doing the opposite of, like, instead of telling them why it wasn't working, I now, when I have to do that, I tell them what are they great at and
mhm,
why that doesn't fit here. And I think they should pursue a career that can,
mm,
they can highlight those things that
mhm,
they are great at. That I will, just like you, I'll be more than happy to connect you with people that you will pair with amazingly. It is
mm,
just not here. And surprisingly, that has worked. People
mm,
leave happy. They
mhm.
just ask me, like, when is my last paycheck coming? And I have had people that come back like 3 days
Mm,
after to just hang out, have lunch, and
mm,
then leave, like, so the delivery is one
mm,
thing. And
mhm,
then making people feel good, even though it's a failure, it's a
mhm,
learning experience, right?
mhm,
So positioning those things as learning experiences and trying to actually not demotivate people, but pushing them to
mhm,
pursue other things that they're passionate about, because simply people think that they want something or that they could be really good at something because they get blinded sometimes by either by the
mhm.
money or by the hours, but it's not really who you are or your
No,
personality.
no,
So you can go make more or make less, but if you're not happy doing what you are doing, you're just going to be miserable no matter how much money you're making.
no,
So
absolutely.
I think it's a lot of truth on what you shared. So how did this transformation happen, where you went from working, busy, kind of like being a behind scene mentor, to now having all this power to support so many women around you, and minorities too, right? Because
Mhm.
it's not just women. I don't want to exclude anybody.
No, no,
um
not at all.
but what happened, what was the catalyst, and
Mhm.
how did this transformation happen?
Okay. So, before you said that, you mentioned something, and I want to share a story in terms
Yeah.
of letting someone go. So a couple years ago, I was the district manager for a brand, and found out that I went to terminate someone, one of the assistants,
Yeah.
and she's kind of said to me that the store manager knew what they were doing and were doing the same thing with them, and went to terminate, and then was have to terminate both. And the store manager's husband happened to have a weapon, and when he
Mhm.
found out what I was doing, he said that he was going to come to the premises and, utilize his weapon. Now, mind you, I
Mhm.
am terrified because this wasn't, gun violence wasn't as bad as it. I mean, I think it was always bad, but I don't think it was like every day. And
Right.
here I am, I'm terrified because I was like, okay, I still have to do what I have to do. And I didn't want to leave my team,
Mhm.
um, you know, and go away. I didn't end up calling the police, and the police came. And, I called the young lady and I said, let's talk. And I was terrified the entire time. I'm not going to lie to you. But I called her and I said, you know what? I need you to tell him the truth. Like, I need you to tell him why, because he's thinking you're being fired for one thing and you're being fired for another thing. Like, I need you to tell him the truth because this could escalate. And it's like, I'm terrified for my life. I'm terrified for my associate's life. Like, you're not a bad person. You made a mistake. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. Like, the repercussions for what you did was, you get fired, and I can see how you got there. And my advice to you in the future is, don't get swayed by somebody else who's doing the wrong thing, but you need to tell the truth. In the end, it ended up, she spoke to the husband, told him the truth, the police came, talked about it, all of that, everything was resolved. But I remember thinking, when I was having the conversation with it, like, she is at rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I could say to her, like, you did this. This is your fault. Like, and now, your husband and, like, just threatening and all of this. And I'm like, okay, she already feels bad. And why should I go in there and make her feel worse? And that was an extreme. And that was one of my worst experience. I'm going to be very
Yeah.
honest. But I share it to say, like, even when somebody is going through one of their worst moments, we can still show them grace.
Yeah.
We can
And
choose
compassion, right?
and compassion.
Because you never know anyone's circumstances,
Mm,
you know?
not at all.
Like, it's not about making excuses for people.
No.
It's none of that. But you never know someone's circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Like, there is a lot of kids that are arrested for stealing,
Mm-hmm.
but very little times people ask them, why were you stealing? Would they
Mm,
just get accused that they were stealing, right?
mm-hmm.
There is a story that didn't happen during my teenage years, but I saw it happen with somebody else, where amazing family. From the outside, you will think they had everything, right? From everything, that you will not think anything was wrong within that household, right?
Yeah.
And the girl got caught stealing at the store. And the mother was on this shame, right? Like, the mother hit her in front of everybody, telling her that, shame on you, like, how can you do this to us, embarrass us, this and that. um and then the girl starts sobbing, right? And the girl told the police that the reason that she did that is because even her mom and her dad, and they have a house, they have nice cars, they really didn't have a lot to eat, and she was hungry.
Wow.
And she
Wow.
was doing that so she could take some for herself and some for her sister, because her sister was hungry.
Mm,
And every time she approached her mom or her dad, they told her that they needed that to stop asking for things because they couldn't afford it.
wow.
But it was all because they were hungry.
Wow.
So you never know the
Mm-hmm.
circumstances of people. We are very, very quick to judge.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to take a more deeper, or we need to take an extra step. We always need to ask ourselves, why is this happening? Why is this
Mm-hmm.
happening to this person? Like, if something's wrong with your employee, if they change their attitude, if their behavior has changed, if a friend has changed, ask them why. What's going on? Tell
Mm,
me. Like, don't judge them. Don't judge them, because you never know, right? Like, circumstances can change like that to
mm-hmm.
anyone.
Mm,
And people, when people feel that they are against the wall, people is capable of anything. in
Mm,
order to survive, because we are survivors. We are. We are
absolutely.
survivors. So I'm very
Absolutely.
proud of you. Like picking up the phone and having that conversation is not easy, especially when you are like terrified of what can happen with your life. Like it's crazy. It's
No,
crazy.
it is. No, well, thank you for sharing that. No, you're right. We have to sometimes find out people why. And, and I'll post this often on, I'll say, like, we don't need a reason to be kind, but we have to be kind because we don't know what someone else is going
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
So, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, positively Suzanne, right? All
Yes.
right. So in 2018, I wanted to spread my positivity. And that's how my brand got started. That's how my company got started. And that's was like time Facebook was just like, a little thing. All right. So I
Yeah.
started sharing like quotes here and there, inspiration quotes. I tried to do it every morning, couldn't do it every morning. But it takes time, right?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. At that point, I was going back to school. I was getting my master's degree. I was married. My husband was sick. My dad lived with me. He was sick. I had two little kids. I was working full time. So I was a minister at my church. And one or two things was going on, right? So I was sharing this information, but then in 2018, I remember a friend, her son drowned,
Mm,
and then another person, their son drowned. And I remember being at the funeral in September, and I'm like, that's it. I am done going to funerals this year. And then a month later, my dad passed away.
mm,
And that like rocked me because
yeah.
I was crying a lot, and just trying to fathom, because my dad lived with me,
Mm,
like how to deal every day, coming home and not see him, waking up and not seeing him. And my dad wasn't easy, but like I miss even the things that drove me nuts.
yeah.
And I had to like talk to myself, like often I was saying to myself, like, if I'm having such a hard time and I am like such a positive and upbeat person, can you imagine folks that are going through grief that don't like have this natural, like they get up and they're up. So that's when I
Mhm.
really amped up my business, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna start offering coaching. I'm gonna start mentoring more. I'm gonna start, my primary focus when it started was Black women, because Black women struggle with, surviving in the workplace. I was a Black woman in the workplace, dealing with microaggressions, dealing with people questioning if you belong in there, dealing with, me speaking articulately. Folks is like, you're so articulate. And me telling them that's not actually a compliment, because you sound like you're surprised that I'm speaking well. I'm not quite sure what you expected to come out of my mouth. So, like, all these things, we're dealing with. And I'm like, you know what? My primary target are Black women, women of color,
Yeah.
for coaching. And, people responded very well to it. At the time I was in school getting my master's, um, was getting dual masters. I started in 2018, and I thought my career was going to go to a different path. I was going to transition from retail leadership to HR management. I got certified in HR and all of that, and had conversations with folks at my job, but I was feeling a pull to follow my passion. And based on a lot of these conversations, I realized that I needed to step out. I am telling women to step out on faith and do this and live their best lives and things like that. And like I felt like I was getting paid well, I'm not gonna lie. And I truly believe that I could have grown. Not sure if I would have grown in the way I wanted to grow, but I could have grown. And I was chatting with folks about applying for other jobs, and I was getting offers and talking to folks, and there were so many different areas that I could have gone in terms of I've had over 20 odd years of retail leadership. I have I have two master's degrees. So I have the experience, I have the education, I have the reference and things like that. So there were so many spaces that I could get into, but I was feeling the pull to bet on myself. And I made a pledge to myself, and I said, I'm going to quit my job in 30 days. And I wrote this down, and I said, how to quit your job in 30 days. Like, yes. conversations I needed to have with who, the stakeholders, if you will, my husband, my kids, my bank account, you know, you got to talk to the bank account because bills got to get paid, right? And, supervisors and things like that. And really setting myself up to win. So, like, I had a resume. I actually even paid to get a resume done because I was like, I wanted the best out there, knowing where I was going and where I was being led. But I wanted to make sure I was doing it, not because, like, well, it's my only choice. I gave everything else the best shot, but this is who I choose. I chose it. It chose me, and we're aligned. And I did. I went 2 weeks later. I gave my notice at my job, and just was ready to, like, okay, I'm gonna take a month off, and I'm gonna relax and have plenty of tea parties, and I'm gonna fully launch my brand, the Positively Suzanne brand, because before I was doing it, I won't say secretly, but it was just like, you don't have time. I don't know. When you work a 40-hour week, it's like 80 hours. Like, the days are longer because when you take the commute out, when you take, the getting ready and getting there and the coming home, it's just like, I felt like the 5 days were just like, I left when it was dark and I came home when it was dark. So I really didn't have a lot of time to spend on my business. So last year in May, when I was like, okay, I wanted to do it before. And there was like Mother's Day was coming up again. And, there was a possibility that I had to work. And I was like, I worked last Mother's Day. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. This is my non-negotiables. I will no
Yeah.
longer work on Sundays.
Huh? Yeah.
This is it. This is my non-negotiable. Any job that I do, I will not work on Sundays. My
Yeah.
Sundays are for going to church. My Sundays are for family time. My Sundays are for exploring with my family. My Sundays are movie days and
Yeah.
picnics and all of that. Like, it's me and God. That's it.
Yeah.
And, every job that I had chatted with and they mentioned Sunday, I'm like, regardless of what they told me in terms of money, I said,
Yeah.
nope, that is just no longer an option. And, I did it. And then in 2 weeks, I left without having a job. And and I decided I'm going to dive fully because I was saying to myself, right, all these years I've invested in these other corporations, running from $100,000 stores to multi-million dollar stores.
Yeah.
One store to, at one point, I managed 16 stores, over 200 employees. So I was putting all of this, and yes, I get that there was a lot of resources behind me, but I'm putting all of this into building someone else's business, somebody else's brand. I can
Yeah.
put all of this in me. I can apply my
Yeah.
masters to me. I can apply my experience to me. I can apply my compassion, my
Yeah.
creativity, my problem solving skills, everything that, they put on your review when they give you that 2.5% increase. I can apply that to me. And I
Cool.
did. And, that's how the brand came to be the focus of everything. And I just kind of put what I wanted to put out there. I wanted to be known as a positive influence. I wanted to be known as somebody that when you have a
Yeah.
conversation with me, you feel good about yourself, that, you realize that there are good people in the world,
Yeah.
that, you are enough, like, you are worth it. And that's always been my focus, to let people see the lights that within them. So I've gone to so many different events. Then I started planning and doing my own events. And the reaction, the reception, like, I think light attracts light. And good people like you have been drawn to me and have formed really great relationships with different people, just doing different thing and just trying to be a positive influence. My clients, I don't turn anybody down, but I will say that I primarily focus on women. I primarily focus on women of color. I primarily focus on Black women because I want them to see how incredible they are, because they're traditionally in spaces that they're not celebrated, they're not elevated, they're not highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to
100%.
see that.
100%. I love the courage, right? You and I have very similar stories. I've been in the insurance space for about 18 years now, and on the middle of the pandemic, it was like compounding, right? It's this thing that you carry with you, and you're always not like, and you're always asking yourself like, but what if I stay and things
Mm,
change, right? Like, that
mhm,
was the victim side of me, where like I was like, no, but they're so good to me, and when I
mm,
need the time or
mm,
whatever. But I was blinded to my own situation, right? Because I've
mhm,
been in there for such a long time.
mm,
So came summer after the pandemic, right? And one day I am here in my house with my husband in one room, my daughter in another, school, cooking 3 times a day. I love to cook before COVID, and then I was like, not for me anymore. I took a break. I'm still taking a little break on cooking. Just gonna say, just gonna say, it's like cooking damn 4 times a day. I don't think so.
okay. Yeah.
But that summer, I had enough. People kept leaving, not replaced. I kept taking on job, and one day, Suzanne, I worked for 15 hours straight. The next day, I asked for help, and I couldn't deliver something, because it just was impossible. Um, and the answer that I got, it was okay. Like, it was okay. But then, somebody else made a comment, and that was it for me, right? And I was like, oh, you didn't. Oh, you didn't. And I just like, so I went upstairs and I told my husband, I'm done.
Mm.
And he's like, what do you mean you're done? I was like, I am done. And I'm going to put my notice. Are
Mm.
you okay with me quitting and not having a job? Because, like, America is not like you can make that decision overnight, right?
No,
So
girl.
I kind of did. And I kind of did with the security that, I have built a career, and a reputation enough that I knew when I put
Mm.
myself out there, it wouldn't be difficult for me to find something else that I could do. But then I quit in July, and I didn't went back to work till October. And I was like, I need a break from you guys. I need a break from work. I need a break from everybody. And I went
Mm.
to Texas backpacking with my best friend. She lives in Texas now. And there I realized, she's a social worker. So
Lord.
talking to her, it's like, I didn't come here for like therapy. I just came here because I needed like to chill. But
Just a break.
it turned out to be like like a long therapy session for like 5 days.
Oh, wow.
And there I discovered that my life, I was missing something, and I was
Mm.
living a life without purpose,
Mm.
and I didn't realize it. And
Wow.
everything was doing work,
Mm.
get your family, to the next level, grow, your bank account, grow your reputation, grow all these things. But it had no meaning or purpose to me. It just didn't. So when I came back, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, I love my career. I do love what I do. But
Mm.
how can I intertwine that with purpose? What
Mm.
is my purpose? Right. And I started having conversations, networking. And about a month later, that's how the Transcend with M brand was born. I started having conversations with
Mm,
people. I wanted to know their stories so I can
mm,
find my purpose in other people.
mm.
Like what is it? And even it started to become so fulfilling that I
Oh.
was like, oh my God, like it just came naturally.
Mm.
Where, oops, sorry about that. It just came naturally. You see, I got excited.
Yes, I noticed.
It just came naturally that the my purpose became just continuing to be that servant person that I've always
Mm,
been, but serving my community,
mm,
serving people that needed to be connected and needed that connection, that learning, and needed to understand that they weren't alone. Like I had to understand that I was not alone because
mm,
overnight I lost 8 years of my life.
mm,
People that were my friends were not my friends anymore because I
mm,
was no longer at work.
mm,
um all these things, right? All these things I thought I had were
mm,
now gone. I wasn't busy anymore. I
mm,
didn't have anything to do other
mm.
than the husband, the daughter, whatever, right? So what is a life without purpose? You're just like like in Puerto Rico we call it a veleta, which is
Mm.
a sail with no direction, right? You just go
Yeah.
like this.
Rudderless, right? Yeah.
So I didn't want to be that. I
No.
was like, what is going on with you? Like you have to like do something with your life, girl.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our stories start from a place of pain, right? Where we have to really do the dirty work on ourselves and do that discovery process where, what is that I'm here for?
Mm.
And through every single story, Suzanne, just like you make a change on everybody you touch, everybody you talk to, through every single story that we are exposed out there, it is an opportunity for us to grow, for us
Mhm.
to create a better and a new tomorrow, right? And I
Mhm.
think it is amazing. You said, you bring people with light around you because you are projecting light. And that is so true. When you start walking that life with purpose and you discover who you really are and what you're really here to do, or at least try to discover who that person is,
Mhm.
destiny puts the people on your path in your journey, and it is so amazing that you'd never really want to derail from it, right?
Mm.
And it's a learning experience every single day. I don't
It
know if you
is.
feel that same way. I'm not a coach. I don't have clients. I don't do any of that. I'm a good connector. I like
Mhm.
to connect people, and I
Mhm.
like to, provide them with tools and things like that. But I don't think I can ever, be a coach or anything like that. I never say never, but like I like being intertwined with all
Mhm.
different types of people,
Yeah.
where I can absorb and learn
Mhm.
and challenge my thinking, right? And challenge uh, what it is that we are doing here.
Mhm.
Um, so I think, learning your journey, you learning from your clients' journeys, learning from the people that surrounding you, us learning together, us
Mm.
supporting one another in infinite different
Mhm.
ways, right? Support doesn't mean that I have to give you $1 or that I have to buy
Mhm.
your product. Support
Mm.
means that, if I see something and I'll be like, hey, remember to smile today, right? That
Mm.
can make a big difference. So
Mm.
I think what you have been able to build around you, it's commendable because not all the people can find that purpose, right?
Mm.
And that light that makes us I don't know, closer to what you should feel when you are completely
Mhm.
replenished. I don't.
Mm.
I know a lot of people. It's non-religious, religious, believe in different
Mhm.
things, but whatever fits your soul, right?
Yeah.
Whatever fits your soul. So you know, what is that feeling that you have when you walk into that room or leave that room or see the room full of people, and room could be in person, online, whatever
Mhm.
it is, right? But what is that feeling that you carry with you at all times, that is not letting you step down?
Mm. You know, I call it intentional joy.
Ah, I never
I,
heard that before.
you know, I'm intentional about who I am, who God is in my life, and what my purpose is. And I feel that, when I was growing up, people have different skill sets, right? Folks could sew, bake a cake, and, fix a car. That was not me, girl.
I still cannot bake. My daughter,
Okay, so, I can,
I sent her to her best friend's mom. I was like, Karen can
yeah.
help you.
No, I could bake, but I'm no Martha Stewart, right? And I've always had, like soft skills. Like back in the day, it
Yeah.
was like called soft skills because when I was a store manager, like there was these managers who could set the floor, like, and it's amazing visual presentation. But I was the person that hired the people, that got the associates to engage with each other, that got folks to improve their performance. So I've always been aligned with helping people see themselves. And, even before coach was a big thing, it was something that I enjoyed. And I always knew that it was connected somehow. I've always, and my faith's important to me. So I've always said, like, said
Yeah.
it like, my purpose from God is to help others. And, I'm intentional because I want to see certain things, but if I don't put it out there, it's not going to come back at me. And you said it earlier, it's like you surround yourself with what you want to see, but I also believe that you put out what you want to see. And I will tell you, me putting out positivity, like the negative people fall away. I promise you, like, God just removes those that are intending to harm me,
Yeah.
those that are intentionally misunderstanding me or my purpose, or like, she's not really like that. No, I really am. I really like people. Like, and I don't waste time explaining who I am if
Mm.
somebody's determined to misunderstand who I am, if they want to put
Yeah.
negative connotations on it. So
Mm.
I walk with intentional joy and I find it within me. So when I enter a room and I see people, I genuinely find joy in meeting folks, finding out their story, connecting them to someone else, mentioning their names in rooms that they're not a part of, like highlighting something that they didn't realize, telling a woman. Every time I go to an event and I see a woman, especially a Black woman, and I'll beat that drum loud because I'm a Black woman and I know what it feels like, and they're doing something, like they're the speaker or whatever, I always, when I see them, I'm like, great job. They
Mm-hmm.
don't even know my name sometimes. I'm like, oh, you did amazing up there. Because I want them to see, like, I see you, like somebody sees you. Because again, we don't know what someone else is doing with, and they may be going up there and doing a brilliant presentation and everybody's clapping and cheering. But inside they're like, oh my God, they're questioning like whether they even belong there. Just walk up and say, hey, great job, and walk away. That's it. You don't even need a conversation like amazing. So proud of you. Loved what you did.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk with intentional joy,
Yeah.
and I want to see folks around me radiate in joy. And the feeling that comes over me when I see somebody discovers their light or find out who they are or even from just the coaching experience, it's amazing. It makes me happy. And to even be a part of it,
Yeah.
like when I hired somebody and they became an assistant manager, then a store manager, the feeling is just like, I feel good. Like
Yeah.
it's better than ice cream. Like, okay. And I love ice cream. Okay.
Well, I know where I'm taking you next.
Yes. And no calories included there. I love ice cream. Like I love, there's not like a warm brownie with like ice cream and like walnuts and hot fudge.
Listen, okay, break.
Okay.
We're gonna take a break here, but we're not gonna cut it out. So I was coming from New Jersey and we were extremely hungry.
Yeah.
And I told my husband, let's start in Stanford because I've always wanted to kind of see the town. I've never been there. I've been here for a very long time. And I Google, and there was this place that had pho, and we love pho. So
Okay.
we went there. But when we were walking to leave, I smell these like cookies, like fresh cookie smell, right? And I
Yeah.
am not a sugar driven individual, right? But I
Okay.
was like, oh my God, where is that smell coming from? And I'm full. We're full. Like we just ate a bunch of food.
Mm.
There's this place called Milk and Cookies. This is free advertising. They haven't paid.
I'm gonna write it down.
They don't even know who I am. Like it doesn't matter. But there is this place called Milk and Cookies, and you don't have to go too far. Here in Worcester, we have a place also. I don't know how it's called, but it's in Water Street that serves cookies. Um, what is the name? Oh my God, something cookies. It's something about overnight. I'll think
Okay.
about it. But it is in Water Street, and they had like these amazing thick cookies filled with like either marshmallow or chocolate or whatever, right? But on top of it, they'll put whatever type of ice cream you wanted, and then you eat it together. And it was warm and cold. And as you eat it, it will, oh my God. It was such an amazing experience. I have to tell you, because I don't eat sugar like that. And I was like, and then I fell asleep for the rest of the trip home.
Oh my.
So I'll tell you, like, this was like one of the best ice cream experience I've ever had in my entire life. It was
Oh,
amazing.
that's awesome. No, I love
Amazing.
ice cream. Every time I go on vacation, like my job is to find the ice cream spot. Like when I go
Yeah.
to Block Island, Martha's Vineyard, like
Yeah.
anywhere, like Nantucket, like I have to find because I like the homemade ice cream. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to find the ice cream spot, and I'm just like, I love ice
Okay.
cream. I
Okay.
do.
Well, we're gonna have a date, and I'm gonna take you. Have you ever been to Amorino?
No.
Oh, girl. Mm-mm. We're not gonna
Okay.
eat breakfast. We're just gonna eat ice cream all day.
Oh
It's
my.
called Amorino, and it's one of the best gelatos that you will ever have.
Okay. So this is recorded, so you
It
can't
is
back out.
recorded, and
So you cannot back out.
you can hold me to it.
Oh,
100%. I will go with you all day to Cambridge. And we'll
okay.
we'll go to Harbor Square. We'll do all these things. Thank you publicly. My friend Sylvia, she introduced me to it. 25 pounds later, here I am.
Girl, it's all right. It's okay.
So write it down. Amorino is a great date, either
Okay.
with your husband, your kids. It's a very good place, super friendly. Um, And honestly, they have the best combinations ever,
I can't
ever.
wait. Yeah, I know. Like if this spring continues like this with all this snow, but I can't
It's
wait.
never, even if it's snowing, it's good for ice cream. And just
Oh, honey,
you can eat
I
it
will.
indoors.
Okay, I will curl up in front of the fireplace with a blanket and eat ice cream. Like,
Good, good. All
yeah,
right, break is
yeah,
done. We
yes.
talk about our ice cream.
Oh my goodness. That was a good
I,
break. That was a
I
good
know,
break.
I know, I know. Just we gotta put some sugar into this,
That
right?
oh,
So
listen, all
I
day
love
long.
it. So Suzanne, tell me about, why it's so important that we support women, and why do we need to show up? Like, why do you show up every single day?
All right. So, which question first? Why do we need to support women? Because traditionally, women have not been supported.
Mhm,
Traditionally, women have not been invited into rooms and spaces, especially women of color, especially Black women, especially
mhm.
women that look like me and you. We are
Yeah,
still fighting to be invited into the room. We're still fighting for pay equity. We're still fighting for so many things. Why should we fight each other?
yeah.
Another woman is not our competition. Another woman is our asset. And I think when we figure that
Mhm,
out, that together we're more powerful than we are separately, we'll be unstoppable. Kamala Harris says, her mom used to say, you might be the first one in the room, but make sure you're not the last. And I think women needs to do that. That's why it's important for me. That's why I show up every day, because I've had the privilege of being the first one in the room. Whether it's, I'm not going to call it luck, by God, by experience, by education, by sheer boldness,
mhm.
by sheer confidence, just taking, saying, this is my time, I'm going to shine. I've had the opportunity to be the first one in the room, and I've invited others in the room with me. And then when
Yeah,
they left, the room looked a lot like me. So
yeah,
they're like, wait, this is not how it started. It's
yeah.
important for me to show up because other women showed up for me.
Mhm,
Other women paved the way. Other women mentioned my name in rooms that I wasn't a part of. And I'm going to do the same for other women, whether they'll know about it or not. It is important for
mhm,
us to show up for other women, because when we stand up for other women and we lift up other women, we're giving them an opportunity that they might not even have a chance to do. They have so many things going against them
yeah,
that, you know what? We can't be against them. We
mhm,
cannot be against each other.
yeah,
I cannot fight against another woman. I cannot hear another woman's name mentioned and I break her down and says, "Hey, don't give her this," because I'm not saying I'm naive enough to say if somebody's the wrong person for the role, if somebody is a baker, I'm not going to recommend them as a plumber. But
mhm.
if I'm in a space where a woman will be good, will do well, I am going to mention her name. So it's important for me to show up because, like I said, other women showed up for me, and I want to show up for other women, and I want my girls. I have two girls that I'm raising. I want them to see me showing up for other women. I want them to recognize that women together can do anything. And like, I'm
Mhm.
trying to build a movement,
Yeah,
and I'm trying, and I get feedback, and I see other women doing the same thing, and I love it. I love that for us. I feel
yeah,
like it's our time. I don't
yeah.
I don't want like I want to say I'll say marginalized women who have traditionally not, been exalted or lifted or highlighted, you know, um
Mhm.
the young lady that won the best Oscar the other night, and I don't watch the Oscars for a myriad of reasons, but the young lady that won it, Michelle Yeoh, she is Malaysian, 95 years. And this is the first time a Asian woman has won. 95 years, and there's been only like one or two Black women that have won. I don't
Yeah.
know if, or maybe one Latino.
It was
95 years.
one was her, Viola Davis.
That Viola Davis, yeah, she won,
Yeah,
but but it's 95 years.
yeah.
So I am so tired of hearing stories. The first Latino, the first Black, the first Asian. These should
Mhm.
not be a normal conversation.
Right.
They should be in every space. Or the first
Mhm.
woman. We're celebrating the first woman coach. What?
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
100 and something years later?
yeah,
Like, I am fighting for equality and equity for women.
yeah.
We need to take up space, and we need
Yes,
to
we
take up
do.
space with each other
We
and
do.
recognize that we're stronger together, because men will count on us
Mhm.
disparaging each other and fighting against each other. And I will tell you that there is more women supporting other women than folks let on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
And
just
I know a lot of people try to put us against each other. And,
absolutely.
there is the exception as well. But I
Mm,
think more and more what it's growing is
mm,
mutual respect, right? It's
absolutely.
less fear and more
Mm,
mutual respect, mutual collaboration. I
mm,
think that it's that was the light
mm,
bulb that went
mm,
off, for a few years now. I think we've been taking more responsibility
mhm,
towards our own success in our
mm,
own space, right?
mhm,
Even though we've been fighting forever,
mhm,
um I think now, in I have my views about social media, positive and negative, but I think something positive that has really happened with having that platform is
mm.
that we are able to connect no matter where you are. It's no longer your zip code.
No.
You can meet people from everywhere at any time, talk to them at any time. It is available. You
Mm,
can definitely have and take that space that belongs to you, and not only that belongs to you, but that you need to make it your own in order to open little spaces for other people, right? Because I am here and I
mm,
want you right here, and I
mm,
want the other one right here. I don't
mm.
want all this space for myself, because
Nope.
all I need is right here, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's beautiful what's happening. I think
Mm,
maybe some people think we're too cliche or like
okay.
whatever, but I myself, you can attest, many of our friends and mutual people we know, we can attest that it is real. And if you really commit to it, you can definitely drive and be change. So
Absolutely.
it is amazing. It is amazing. So one last question, and this has first of all, thank you for sharing your amazing story and your thoughts. um but the tea parties, I need you to tell people about the tea parties. Why tea parties? And for those that are watching and don't know Positively Suzanne, she is the signature queen of tea parties. Why tea parties? Tell me, why tea parties?
Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. So, you know how I talk about I'm intentional about self-care.
Yeah.
Tea, I don't do coffee, but I love tea. And
Hmm.
tea for me, when I have a cup of tea, I am transported. I am just by myself and having the best time.
Yeah.
And I get dressed up when I'm by myself, and I would have these tea parties by myself. I would do the fascinator, the gloves, the pearls, the dress, and I'd sit on the porch and I'll host like with my little tea set, teapot, saucers and everything, and host these little tea parties for me. And then I started to post the pictures like, oh, I had a tea party. And everybody was like, wait, I wasn't invited to the tea party. So I had a couple people come to my home for the tea party. And then I was like, okay, God, what are you trying to tell me? Because like literally people I didn't know was commenting like, when can I come to this tea party?
Yeah.
So last year, and I had never seen it like in Worcester. And I mean, I think people host tea party, and maybe because I wasn't paying attention, but
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna throw a tea party. And I did. So I created the flyer and I was like, dress code high tea fabulous. And everybody was like, what is high tea fabulous? And I'm like, however you feel.
Yeah.
So I rented the space. We had mimosas. There was tea, and I did provide coffee for those that don't drink tea because I wanted to be a space for people to feel comfortable,
Of
right?
course.
Absolutely. And just because like I feel passionate about tea and I could write a 45-minute song about tea, not everybody can. So, and so I sold the tickets and I had no idea what it was going to be. And like the first tea party event, and so many people said they had never ever been to a tea party. They only knew
Yeah.
about tea party through their church.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said, however you felt fabulous. And women, they came in tiaras, they came in fascinators, gloves and purse and tutus and gowns. And it was just amazing. And they walked through the room, walked in, they were handed mimosas or, you know, juice if you don't drink mimosas.
Yeah.
And you know, it was an afternoon, and I made sure that we had affirmations, and we shouted out affirmations throughout the tea parties. And they had, like, you know, tea, coffee, tea food, like scones and lit fruits and all of that, like all the tea party things. But it was just an afternoon of, like, I spotlighted women, I chose women, they talked about their business, they introduced themselves, connected people to people, and just we shouted affirmations throughout, like, I am beautiful, I am, you know, confident, and I can do anything I set my mind to. And the feedback was incredible. Like,
Yeah.
loved it. And I had a second one, then I had a third one this year, and now I'm going to do the kids one coming up soon. But like,
Yeah.
the women, the responses that I got, like, so many women, like, oh my God, you're doing it on days I can't attend. They just loved it. And, you know, they just left feeling, it's an amazing afternoon. It's no hidden agenda. It's just all about women, supporting women, empowering other women, and just having a great time, drinking tea, sipping mimosas, saying affirmations, and just being in a space where you're loving yourself and
Yeah.
loving other women.
I love it.
And it's just, for
I
me,
love it. I can't wait for the next one.
I
I
can't
don't want
wait.
to miss it. I don't want to miss it. And I'm going to go, dress, pearls, and all. I don't care.
All of it. Go
I
all
don't
out,
care.
honey. Think Bridgerton. Watch Bridgerton, and then
My God. I love that show.
I do too. So think Bridgerton. Look at how they dress to go to tea and come, like, you know, like, just let's just do it. I love
Yeah.
Bridgerton. We
Yeah.
talked about it.
I
So,
don't know if I can wear the tight corset, but
oh, oh yeah. No, no. You know what? I don't wear a corset to the tea parties, because I will tell you, we have full belly laughs. Like,
yeah.
we have full belly laughs. Like, this last tea party, because I always play a game,
Yeah.
because it's 3 hours. This one we played, like, this game called Heads Up or Charades. Oh my goodness. The woman, like, it was so much fun. Like, it was insane. We were just,
Yeah.
we're grown women playing charades. And it was a
Yeah.
20 something woman, and they were acting out movies. And it
Yeah.
was just like the joy on these women's faces, just how
Yeah.
everybody was talking to each other, how everybody was loving each other, celebrating each other. It was just like, to be in that space
Yeah.
was amazing. And even though, like, I created it and facilitated it, like, it was the woman who did it. Like, when they collectively decided to come with an open mind and
Yeah.
just celebrate each other, it
Yeah.
was a movement.
And have fun, right?
Oh,
We forget to laugh as
yeah.
adults. We're
Oh,
so worried about everything. Like, I really have to think about, did I laugh today? Did I laugh 3 days
oh
ago? Like, I
my.
don't remember. I don't remember. So I love that you fostered that environment, and that it is, very, very at the core of everything you do. So that's really amazing. So, Suzanne, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being who you are and bringing all that light into this world. And I am grateful that your story had brought you here. Where you are today. Not here with me, also here with me, but where you are today, right? Because if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be talking. And I am extremely, grateful for everything you do for everyone out there without expecting anything in return. So I appreciate you, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much. I am humbled that you invited me to the show. I appreciate it. To be um called out for being yourself, to shine your light, to living in your purpose. It's incredible. And it just keeps reminding me every single day that God placed me here for a reason. And, it's not about getting recognized. I mean, I'm 5'11" and in heels, I'm like 6'5". So, and I rock a fro and I'm wearing fabulous jewelry and all of that. So, I mean, I'm not quiet. So you'll notice me. But
That's
get
okay. It's who you are.
it's okay. Getting noticed for doing well never grows old. Getting noticed
Yeah.
for being a light and for spreading positivity, it's
Bring it
never,
on. Bring it
never a
on.
dull. Bring it
Love
on.
it. Love it. Well, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you next time. All
Bye
right. Bye,
bye.
Monica. Bye bye.